Hi, I'm Mike with Riding in the Ozarks. So, a few weeks ago, Kawasaki announced a new KLR. It comes in 3 flavors, and ever since the internet has been flooded with videos talking about the new features and capabilities of the KLR650 or reasons why they don't like it. I recently got to do my first ride video on a KLR650. Now, it was a second gen, and I want to thank my buddy Jordan for letting me ride his bike. You can check out his channel up here. If you don't follow the channel, you may not realize I bought a DR650 last year. I'm almost 50 and I decided to get back into riding dirt bikes. I know, it's probably not a great idea. Maybe not the smartest thing I've ever done, but I'm going to do it anyway. I've also made a couple of new friends that ride KLR650s, and I did a lot of research on the KLR versus DRs before I bought my DR650. I wanted to make sure I was buying the right bike for me. I watched several of these new KLR650 videos learning about the improvements and the new features in the KLR. And one of the things I heard commonly complained about in the videos and in the comments was that Kawasaki did not do a complete redesign of this bike to make it more competitive with the Tenere 700. Well, because they did not do a complete redesign, I think the KLR650 is still a great bike to compare to the DR650. So let's compare the 2022 KLR650 that's going to be coming out to the 2021 DR650 that has not been updated yet. I do realize these bikes are not available in all markets, and that's a real shame. It's a shame, and I feel sorry for anyone who can't pick one up locally. I think these are great bikes to get into adventure riding on a budget. I've been watching for a small CC dual sport bike for a firecracker on 2 wheels. But they're impossible to find used right now for a reasonable price, and if you find one, they're gone within 24 hours. Since the whole pandemic thing and people are trying to get out and camp and stuff like that, it's hard to buy dirt bikes new. They're flying off the shelves. I mean, my local power sports dealer has very few new bikes that are in a displacement size for adults. They can't keep 4-wheelers, ATVs, or dirt bikes in stock. If you've not watched any of these videos I've been talking about on the KLR 2022 model, where they talk about the improvements and features, you should go check them out. I'm not going to get into that in depth, but we are going to cover the 3 models that they came out with and the pricing on those, and talk about which model we're going to compare the DR to. The 2022 KLR base model is about $6,700 and comes in right at $7,000 with the ABS option. The KLR 650 Traveler version comes in at about $7,400. Now this model does come with a top case, DC and USB charging ports, and ABS is standard. It also comes with the ugliest paint scheme I've seen yet. That lava color just doesn't do it, boys. The top of the line model is the KLR 650 Adventure. It comes in at about $8,000. It has side cases, fog lamps, frame sliders, tank pads, DC and USB charging ports, ABS, and it comes in a premium camo gray color option. Alright, if you're not familiar with the DR650, it comes in 1 trim. One model only. It doesn't have ABS. And it's $6,700. So, we're going to compare it to the KLR 650 base model without ABS, which is also $6,700. The KLR 650 has a 650cc 4-stroke liquid-cooled single-cylinder dual overhead cam engine. The DR650 is 644cc 4-stroke air and oil-cooled and has a single-cylinder single overhead cam. The compression on the KLR is 9.8 to 1 and the DR650 is 9.5 to 1. The KLR has fuel injection now, and the DR650 is still running a carburetor. Both are 5-speed transmissions, chain drive, And there's less than 1 foot-pound of torque difference between the two, with the DR just slightly edging out the KLR. When you get into horsepower, the KLR now has 40 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, and the DR has 43.5 horsepower at 6,400 RPM. The KLR has 7.9 inches of travel on the front suspension, and the DR has 10.2. The DR also has 10.2 inches of travel in the rear suspension, and the KLR still only has 7.3. They're both running 21-inch fronts and 17 rears. Now we have a little bit of differences in the brakes here. While the KLR has a 300mm disc, it has a 2-piston caliper. The DR has a 290mm disc, but it comes with a 4-piston caliper in the front. When we get to the back of the bike, they're both running 240mm disc with a single piston caliper on the KLR and a dual piston caliper on the DR. Overall length, the KLR is 1 inch longer than DR at 89.8 inches. Overall width, the KLR is 4 inches wider than the DR at 38.2 inches. Seat height on the KLR is 57.7 high, 56.3 low. The DR just gives us one measurement at 47 inches. Ground clearance on the KLR is 8.3 inches, and the DR has 10.5 inches of ground clearance. The seat height on the KLR comes in at 34.3, with the DR just being a ½ inch higher at 34.8. Alright, curb weight is one of these things where they differ quite a bit. The curb weight on the KLR is 460 pounds, and the DR is only 366. Now, the KLR does have a 6.1 gallon gas tank, and the DR only has 3.4. The wheelbase on the KLR is a little bit longer at 60.6, while the DR is 58.7. They both have a 12-month warranty. The headlight on the KLR is LED now, and the DR is still running the old halogen bulb. When you get into the gauge system, the KLR is digital but no tach, and the DR has a good old analog speedo with the turn neutral indicators only. When you look at the horsepower per pound, the KLR comes in at 0.087, while the DR is almost 30% more at 0.119. Alright, we're done comparing the specs on these bikes. And you know, I'm not going to get into all the improvements on the KLR. There's lots of videos out there. But if you guys would really like to tell you my 5 favorite things about the new KLR650, leave me a comment down below, and maybe I'll do that video for you. But I will let you know, they have supposedly fixed the doohickey, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but the subframe is now welded to the frame and is no longer bolt-on. That could be a big deal if you have to do a repair to the frame. So nobody has rode the 2022 KLR650 yet because it's not out. And in this case, I'm going to compare the KLR I have rode to the DR I have rode. And I'm going to tell you, the KLR feels bigger and heavier, and that's not necessarily a bad thing when you're dealing with traffic on the highway. But the DR feels lighter and faster and more responsive. And that's not a great thing on the highway, but it's a great thing on the dirt. You know, I'm probably sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, and I kind of am. What really matters is what bike is best for you and your style of riding. And we've compared the specs. I can tell you that I feel if you're going to ride more than 50 or 60% of the time on the pavement, the KLR is probably better suited for that. But if you want something that you can really get out and play with in the dirt, then I think the DR650 is the best choice. Now, if you're going to be riding in the mountains where the elevations change drastically, then fuel injection is probably an advantage. But if you like the idea of being able to work on the carburetor, then, you know, maybe the DR is the way you still want to go. I'm pretty comfortable working on carburetors. I'm not comfortable with working on fuel injected systems. I just don't have any experience with it. Maybe it's not that complicated, it's just not something I'm familiar with. Now, the new KLR has digital gauges and LED headlamps, and it provides better wind protection with that big gas tank, and you won't have to fuel up as often. So, again, like I said, if you're looking to do a lot of highway riding, I think the KLR is better suited for that, but that's just my personal opinion. You can get bigger tanks for the DR, you can put a windscreen on it, you can change it up to be more like the KLR if you really just love the DR650. Alright, I've done a couple of these bike comparisons before, and I can promise you, someone's going to have an opinion about which bike is the best, and they're going to leave a comment below, and they're going to explain why this bike is superior than the other one. I think what's really important is for you to understand the specs and the differences in the two bikes, and which one may be suited for which style of riding better. I always recommend you get out and ride as many bikes as you can before you decide which bike is best for you. In the end, you're the one that has to ride it and live with it, and it's your choice. I can only point you in the right direction based on generalizations of different types of riding styles and what these bikes may be equipped better for. Now, leave me a comment down below and let me know which of these two bikes is best for you and why. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you do that YouTube thing, check out the content on my channel, and if you dig it, don't forget to subscribe down below, ring that bell to be notified the next time I drop a new video, and as always, thank you for support, stay safe, and keep on riding.